Okay, so I have reached the third Resident Evil animated film called Vendetta. And this one came out in 2017, though it takes place in 2014. But I think the time that it came out really shows how technology has caught up to the point where the animation of these films begins to look really damn good. Other than a few times where I thought the faces were a little bit off and wonky, mostly just with Chris, so maybe it's just a Chris face problem. But the fluidity of the characters' movements, the action sequences, the locations that we visit, all of it worked for me and got me more immersed into the experience than any of the other animated movies have so far. And also, this one basically comes down to being a buddy team-up movie with Chris Redfield and Leon Kennedy taking down hordes of infected using the most ridiculous and over-the-top action movie ways to do it. I mean, come on, we have the two most badass leading boys of the Resident Evil series interacting more than they ever have before and kicking non-stop waves of zombie ass. This is just a balls-to-the-wall, unapologetic action movie, and I couldn't have had a better time with it. So far, it's probably my favorite animated Resident Evil film. Similar to the previous animated movies, it does play on references and callbacks to the games, like in the beginning where Chris and a team of BSSA members investigate a mansion, and yes, this mansion has zombies in it. The opening scene is the closest we get to anything horror related, but you know what? I think everything here was very well done. It has good tension and build up. Some of the soldiers even get killed by traps in the mansion as opposed to just the zombies, and it gives you some of that classic horror movie throwback RE vibes that people have been longing for. Sure, it's quick and a lot of it's the same old shit you've seen before, but it's done well enough that I enjoyed it. Also, Chris has really got to keep himself out of mansions at this point. It's getting ridiculous. The villain in the film is actually somewhat interesting as well. He's an arms dealer named Arius who was targeted by the government that bombed him during his wedding and killed his bride-to-be. He did survive, but surely enough, now he has the massive incentive, or should I say, vendetta, against the government to try to get revenge, and after getting his hands on some bioweapons, he intends to do just that. But at the same time, his sanity is also declining as he keeps a severed arm of his fiancée with the wedding ring still on it, and even mimics a mock wedding scenario, and after abducting Rebecca Chambers, he puts her in a wedding dress because she reminds him of his wife. And yes, he does want to put the ring on her. So yeah, I kind of like his demented and warped mind mixing with his ambition for revenge. After the last few Resident Evil movies having a handful of just corrupt government officials being the villains, I kind of liked having one that had a more twisted mind where you didn't know what he was going to do next, and the guy can also hold his own against Chris Redfield in a fight. He was pretty unique. And yeah, as I mentioned, Rebecca Chambers is in this movie too, the first time we get to see her since Resident Evil 0, and I'm happy to inform that she still is a cutie patootie. Now she's working as a scientist developing vaccines for the viruses, which I do kind of like because she started out as more of the medic on the STARS team. So since this movie would take place in 2014, about 16 years after the initial outbreak and the mansion event, it kind of makes sense to me that she would have had the time to progress her skills and eventually go in this direction. And unlike somebody like Chris, probably would not want to be on the front lines anymore after what she experienced. Part of the difference of the zombie outbreaks in this movie, this virus called the A virus, it's a type of infection where the zombies are actually able to take commands and go after specific targets, which is kind of funny because traditionally, before the George Romero style zombie movies existed that changed the definition of what a zombie was, zombies were more associated with voodoo and were essentially controllable slaves that you could send after somebody to attack them. So hey, it's come full circle. But they use that super thin plot detail of them taking commands to think maybe it has something to do with the Plagas from Resident Evil 4 that Leon fought. So Rebecca and Chris go to see Leon. It's a pretty contrived way to get him into the movie, but it doesn't matter. The story of this movie is not the appeal, it's getting to see this unique character team up and witness a ton of action spectacle. But also, we need to talk about this. On the ride to go see Leon, the characters mention the TV series Breaking Bad.
DC and Damien aren't talking about Breaking Bad for once.
Hey, don't go there, Chris.
Yo, that shit's ahead of its time.
It's a goddamn masterpiece.
Which, at first I thought, awesome, Breaking Bad reference, one of the greatest shows of all time. Breaking Bad is a canon TV series in Resident Evil. But then I remembered this scene.
No, man. Resident Evil 4 takes it by a long shot.
Please, brother, you front.
No, man, seriously.
It's a moment in Breaking Bad where Badger and Skinny Pete are talking about Resident Evil 4. So wait, Breaking Bad is canon in Resident Evil, and then Resident Evil is also canon in Breaking Bad? I might have to bust out the whiteboard for this one because this multiverse is about to implode in on itself. Anyway, Leon is basically acting how Chris did in Resident Evil 6, drinking his sorrows away. I guess a decade plus of fighting monsters will do that to all of these characters eventually. And I do like how after Leon and Chris can't seem to get along, Rebecca basically plays the role of the therapist to calm them down. But once they're attacked, Rebecca is captured, and then the two of them decide to team up to get her back and to take down Arius. Another interesting thing about this movie is that they used New York City as a location for the next outbreak. Sure, plenty of real cities and locations exist in Resident Evil, but they usually use fictional towns and cities for the outbreak scenes. So it's a cool change of pace to have this take place in New York City. Not that we spend a lot of time there, but you do get to see Leon riding a motorcycle through the streets, shooting the Cerebrus dogs, while somehow driving the motorcycle with his feet and using his hands for some gunfu, driving around blowing up tankers that contain the gas that jumpstarts the outbreak, and Leon seems to be able to ride this motorcycle anywhere he wants to in the entire film, whether it's upstairs, inside buildings, through corridors, or on rooftops. The motorcycle is basically an extension of his spin kicks. The main highlight of the movie, though, is definitely when Chris and Leon raid Arius' hideout and have a full-on hallway fight scene with a bunch of zombies. Sure, it's a bit dumb, but seeing these two characters back-to-back just annihilating a bunch of enemies with some John Wick-level choreography just made me feel like I immediately wanted to go to the gym and max out on every single exercise. It pumped me up. It is pure adrenalized testosterone that will make any action movie fan cream his shorts. And what I'm really trying to say is the scene is pretty cool, and I liked it. And that's the main appeal of Vendetta. It's a solid action movie that doesn't try to be anything else, and even though the virus strain is something a little bit different here, it doesn't really add too many extra elements to the lore. It's pretty much here to give us a Chris and Leon team-up movie and some great fan service, and in that, it succeeds. Arius is also a pretty good villain. Like I said, he can throw down, even giving Chris a run for his money. There's a great knife versus gun battle between the two of them that feels like something out of Equilibrium. Shout out to the 10 people that know what that movie is. But of course, in traditional Resident Evil movie fashion, we do have to end with a giant tyrant fight, and I'm still kind of confused on what happened because Arius transforms by merging himself with another character or something. I don't know, I guess it doesn't really matter, but the final rooftop battle of Chris and Leon versus the mutated Arius is also extremely satisfying with tons of spectacle. There's not even really a lot to comment on, just go watch it. It's old-fashioned action movie nonsense in the best possible way. Now, I get that this could be a disappointment for some people because other than the opening mansion scene, which I do think does a good job being a classic Resident Evil throwback moment, there's not really any horror to be found in this movie other than the fact that zombies exist. It makes sense that this would come out and take place shortly after Resident Evil 6 because the tone is very similar, but I get that this isn't what a lot of Resident Evil fans may have wanted at the time. Trust me, I would love to see a slow, atmospheric, and creepy animated Resident Evil movie. Hell, even do a movie in first person like RE7 is. But going through the franchise for the first time and waiting so long to see my boys side by side kicking ass together, it was a bit cathartic to see this team up, and that was enough for me. Also, Rebecca gets a lot of time to shine, and I haven't seen her in a while, and she's still a cutie patootie. Oh yes, and the ending makes an emphasis on one of Arias's henchmen, Maria, still alive at the end of the film, and although I do believe I've heard she comes back in the next animated movie, I initially thought maybe this is another one of those cliffhangers like at the end of Revelations 2 that goes nowhere, but I think I will see her again in the next one. Although in this movie, she didn't really leave any kind of impression on me, she just felt like she was kind of there, so hopefully she does a little bit more. Anyways, guys, let me know what you think about Resident Evil Vendetta down below. I think this is one of the better animated movies. The animation quality has definitely improved, and I can't lie that I love this team up between these two characters. If you guys have seen Vendetta, let me know what you think about it down below. Leave your thoughts and comments on it. Thank you guys for watching the video. I appreciate it. As I'm going through the Resident Evil series for the very first time, I do have a playlist of all the stuff I've reviewed so far, so go ahead and check that out if you want to. Also, if anybody is feeling generous and frisky, I would really appreciate any help or support you could possibly give me on Patreon or through channel memberships. YouTube is a cruel mistress, and it's really hard to get views out there in the world. And so any little support, even $1 a month, goes a long way, and I would deeply appreciate it. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching this video. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll talk to you next time.
That chick, the one you gotta rescue, she's smoking, bro.